is probabilities, and it's going to change in-game betting forever. If it's easier to understand 52% probability of winning versus minus 108 odds, Sporttrade is your new home. With this percent odds feature, cashing out now makes much more sense. As the win probability changes, so does the value of your bet. Even if you're an experienced bettor and you prefer American odds, you'll love seeing odds closer to minus 106 versus the normal minus 110 offered just about everywhere else, coupled with near instant in-play betting. No more spinny wheels. Download Sporttrade on your iPhone today to see the difference and beat the book. Use promo code 1580 to earn 10% cash back on every bet you place in your first week. Terms apply.
Sporttrade is regulated by the Arizona Department of Gaming. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP.
You may know me as Ruben Gallego, but I've had a lot of titles over the years. First, son, or mijo, by my single immigrant mom who worked so hard to make ends meet, and brother by my 3 incredible sisters. I've been called janitor, line cook, construction worker, doing any job I could to help out since we didn't have much. I earned the title graduate from Harvard University. I was called infantryman in the Marines when my company took some of the heaviest losses in Iraq. I'm called congressman, proudly representing Arizona the past 10 years. But my favorite title of all is dad to my 2 beautiful kids, whose future I'm fighting for every day. That's why today, my title is candidate for Senate. I'm fighting to lower costs and secure our border. I'm Ruben Gallego, candidate for U.S. Senate, and I approve this message because for me, it's never been about titles. It's about standing up for hardworking Arizonans like you.
Paid for by Gallego for Arizona.
Progressive presents 10 things on a contractor's to-do list that are harder than getting a commercial auto insurance quote. Bidding a new client, giving an accurate estimate, finding affordable materials, getting a client to pay you for work you already did, getting a client to pay you, period, securing permits and workers and tools, getting those workers and tools to work together, and finding the perfect pair of overalls. Pockets, baby. But the easiest thing on a small business owner's to-do list? Seeing if you can save on commercial auto insurance. Get a quote in as little as 7 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage subject to policy terms and conditions.
Everybody's got a podcast these days. Comedy, politics, true crime, you name it. But how many actually teach you anything useful? Harman Solar has an entertaining podcast that is vital if you've been thinking about looking into solar, but you don't know where to start. Ralph and Ben explore the intricacies of utilities, equipment, processes, and more. Their primary objective is to educate and empower you to make informed decisions on your solar journey. So increase your knowledge, not your bills. Go check it out right now. It's the Harman Solar Podcast at harmansolar.com.
You might wonder, John Legend, how do you keep your voice sounding so legendary? Honey, and how do I keep my protection against COVID-19 up to date? With a COVID shot this season, designed for recent variants.
You can get your COVID-19 shot when getting your flu shot if you're due for both, as recommended by the CDC.
The fresher, the better.
Ask your healthcare provider about getting this season's COVID-19 shot when getting your flu shot.
Sponsored by Pfizer.
KQFN Tempe. Also transmitting on K257CD Phoenix at 99.3 FM and K240 EU Mountain Hills at 95.9 FM. Wherever you go, take us along. Listen to our live stream on our free Fanatic app. Download it today.
It is good to be back here on a football Thursday afternoon. You are listening to Beat the Book. I'm Keon Rose. Alongside me is Dylan Cohen. He's our betting expert. And we're broadcasting live from the 1580 The Fanatic Studios. Harman Solar. That's the title sponsor there. And this is a show that is all about betting, making you money. And today on the show, we've got a lot of stuff going on. We're going to talk a little bit about Sporttrade, just a little bit to kind of give you the early reviews, the early returns on the use of that brand new betting app that's live here in Arizona, and all of the different things that you can do with that, especially during NFL games. We'll get to that a little bit later on. Also, we're going to talk a lot of Thursday night football, because this is a game that's priced interestingly. And of course, there's some opportunities here to beat the book. And as always, Dylan, who powers the show?
That would be Sporttrade, which is that brand new app that you mentioned that just happened to launch here in Arizona. It is available on iOS as well as Android. So if you have not downloaded this app yet and created an account, do yourself a favor, get that done as soon as possible, because I finally got to try out the live betting feature yesterday in the WNBA playoffs that we had. And oh my God, it is just a radically different experience. Very just innovative, very different. I was literally day trading WNBA games, which I don't think I would have ever imagined myself ever saying that in my life. But yes, you can wager in game as if you are trading stocks. That is a real thing that you can now do. So I'm going to actually kind of describe a bit of the experience that I had with that yesterday. But I just want to say this has just been a really amazing week, particularly for Beat the Book. Not necessarily going into kind of the record of the picks or anything like that, because we're in a really volatile sports betting environment right now. But we've had the leadership of Sport Trade here in the studios. Got to spend a lot of great time with them, and we just happened to have a meeting with a former NBA All-Star, a former slam dunk champion, and this person very, very may possibly be on this show next week. So if you're not tuning in to Beat the Book, you got to make sure that you make yourself available from 2 to 3 Monday through Friday.
And of course, we've got the podcast that's on 1580thefanatic.com. By the way, because you were talking about some live betting that you were doing during the WNBA games last night, Baker's Cocky Hands says, and I don't know if this is a Sport Trade text at all for him, but he says, WNBA live bet saved me last night. I grabbed Nafisa to score 35 plus 350 and to score 40 plus 600. So some savvy moving from Baker's Cocky Hens.
That is definitely amazing to hear. I think that's my biggest regret about yesterday, because that was just one of those things. I mean, that was one of my picks that I did put out yesterday, was to take Napheesa Collier's over on points at 22.5. And AI, loved that play, was recommending her to get somewhere in the neighborhood of 25 to 28 points. But that was just one of those plays where, like, I just had a gut feeling like she's going to go off again. And she put up 42.
The last, 12, 13 games of Napheesa Collier have been terrifying. She is in a borderline impossible to stop when she's hot. I don't know what to do if you're coaching defensively. What do you do to contain that? I have no answers.
Well, and among all the WNBA teams that are left right now in the playoffs, I don't think there's a team that really kind of favors one individual player, particularly on offense, the way that the Minnesota Lynx leverage Napheesa Collier. She is such a focal point of their just offensive game plan. I mean, this might be something that we're just going to regularly look to hit, as far as taking her over on points. Their next series is going to be against the Connecticut Sun, who do traditionally play much better defense than most of these other teams. But, in the playoffs, it's a different brand of basketball. Because of that, I think that really led to the increased output and scoring that we've seen from Collier. She's now put up, I believe it's 80 points in her last 2 games.
Oh my God.
Which is just unbelievable. So that's going to be something to definitely keep in mind. But going back to Sport Trade and this whole live betting dynamic, and I want to stress this because we have a big Thursday night football game tonight where, you can get in on some of the action and you can start to experience what I'm talking about here. But just for example, in the Indiana Fever and Connecticut Sun game yesterday, pre-game, the Fever are a fairly big underdog. As far as American odds go, I believe they were priced, plus 340, somewhere in that neighborhood. And then when you go onto Sport Trade and you're looking to try and dive in and take advantage of a live betting scenario, they still have those same American odds, for you to get that sense of familiarity. But the real way that they're trying to frame this is literally as if it's a stock. So the way this worked was, before that game started yesterday, I bought shares of the Indiana Fever at $19 a share. And that was the equivalent of the roughly, plus 300, plus 340, money line odds, wherever those were. And my whole basis of doing this was, I don't believe the Fever are going to win this game. I believe the Sun are going to win it, but I'm counting on this game to be close. I'm counting on the Fever to actually take the lead at certain points in this game. And the whole rationale is that if I buy at $19 a share and the Fever race out to an early lead, or perhaps they just keep it close by halftime, it's probably going to be trading higher than 19 a share. And if I can get that in the $30 to $40 range, as far as trying to sell that share, then that's going to be the right scenario where I'm going to sell off and then I'm going to flip to the Sun and I'm going to put everything on the Sun and then hold that position until the game ends. And what happened? The Fever ran out to a 13-4 lead very early in the first quarter. That ended up being the moment that I decided to sell my position. In hindsight, I probably should have held it a little bit longer because they ended up.
But that's what, you talk to anybody that's ever worked on Wall Street. That's exactly the trouble, is that sometimes you don't want to wait too long. So you exit earlier than you'd like to. And the sharper you are, the closer to that moment that you're supposed to jump off, that you actually do jump off. Like that's part of the fun of it. That's part of the thrill of it. So yeah, I mean,
you live and you learn.
Yeah,
I mean, it's my first time doing this.
Yeah,
so.
And you could have held on a little bit longer, but like it's an unpredictable thing for a reason. The reason why there's money being made by both bettors and by sports books is because of that unpredictability.
Exactly. So, I mean, in this case, I end up selling out of my position at $32 a share. So I do secure some profit there. I then turn around and put everything that I just won on the Sun to win. I also peppered the Sun to win by a 3.5 point spread. So both of those things end up winning. I won on that game overall. Now, just like you mentioned, Keon, I tried to do the same thing with the Mercury and the Lynx. Mercury were staying competitive in the first half and then really kind of fell apart second half. And I was not able to get out of my Mercury position in time. So that one was a loser. And, you live and you learn.
And quite frankly, this is what's interesting about having the app set up this way, is that that's how it was already happening like that. If you're live betting anywhere, it works like that. It just helps you visualize it a little bit better.
And in this case too, I mean, it's difficult stuff to kind of hear over the radio or hear in a podcast and like kind of picture it. So again, that's why I absolutely stress, if you have not signed up for Sporttrade, get your account set up when you can see these things visually on your phone, on your computer, however you're, using it. I think it's going to make a lot more sense when you get that visual. And, we're going to go into this pretty heavily in the second half, but we've got quite the matchup tonight. The Dallas Cowboys are taking on the New York Giants from MetLife Stadium in New York. And this could very well be a game where it's neck and neck. Perhaps one team takes the lead, then another takes the lead. I'm picturing something a bit reminiscent of that Bengals and Commanders game that we saw this past Monday. So
maybe the more low scoring version. I don't know that we're going to have home run shots the way that Burrow and Daniels were throwing them on Monday night. But there are going to be opportunities in this game where there's going to be momentum shifts and back and forths and all of that kind of stuff.
So, that'll be something that we're going to get into pretty heavily a little bit later on. But, want to keep the focus right now on our Arizona Diamondbacks, because they did finally break out of this losing streak here. They were able to secure a win last night against the Giants. Final score was 8-2, and quite the game from Zach Gallen. Honestly, that was exactly what the doctor ordered. That was exactly what I had in mind for him yesterday, which is why I recommended taking him on his strikeouts. And for anyone that happened to play that long shot parlay yesterday, fortunately, I hate sounding like a broken record about this. It was just one of those deals where we came so close.
You needed a little bit more from Marina Mabry right there at the very end, and well, it didn't exactly come through on one of her worst shooting nights of her career, probably.
I mean, we needed 20 points out of her. She finished with 17, but she took 18 shots in the game. And whenever you get less points than the amount of shots you've taken, that's not something to be proud of. I mean, at the end of the day, they were just trying to get out of there alive. Had the Sun lost that game, and if they needed to go to Indiana for a game 3, that was not going to be a good situation for them. That was pretty much a death sentence. So, they really averted disaster there. But unfortunately, we hit the Nafisa Collier points, no problem. We hit the Zach Gallen 8 or more strikeouts, no problem. And then we just barely miss on Marina Mabry by 3 points. So that was a bummer. But there's a new long shot parlay posted for today. We're very excited about that. If you're not following me on Instagram, the handle is @BeatTheBookFanatic, all spelled out. You can just click the link in the bio. That'll take you right to the Beat the Book website where the picks are posted Monday through Friday. You can also get there by visiting 1580thefanatic.com and just scroll down, click on the Beat the Book with Dylan Cohen logo. That'll take you right to the same place where you can go ahead and, take a look at, the picks that we like for today. It's very, very heavily centered around Thursday night football. I do have a couple of baseball picks on there for the Yankees and Orioles game tonight, so make sure you check those out. But right now, after the Diamondbacks won that game yesterday, it certainly helps. You don't want to see them lose that game. We're already in a pretty uncomfortable position as it is, sandwiched right in between the New York Mets and the Atlanta Braves for that final wild card spot in the National League. And we did break this news on the show yesterday, but the Braves and Mets series got postponed until this coming Monday, where they're now going to play a doubleheader that's going to essentially decide the final standings of the wild card race in the National League. Something that we failed to mention yesterday, I didn't really connect the dots on this, but that's that these two teams are playing other teams today. They didn't just get a break between now and Monday. They literally had to drop everything. Both of them are flying out of Atlanta, going to different places. Mm-hmm. So, the grind doesn't stop for those guys. And now, in addition to, needing to play 2 games on Monday, you get no break. You have spontaneous travel to these, other places when, it's definitely breaking your routine and you're going there at times where you weren't counting on necessarily being there. And, for professional athletes, when your routine gets disrupted, that's probably one of the worst possible things that can happen. These are all, human beings that are very tied to schedules and routines and, certain times and places of doing things. And, it's an organization's job to really keep those guys within their routines as much as possible. So the New York Mets had to pick up everything and go fly to Milwaukee for a series against the Brewers. Meanwhile, the Braves, they actually get to stick around at home against the Royals. But who's to say that, these games that they're playing against the Royals potentially, don't get disrupted by this hurricane weather that's in the area. There could be some more.
That could cause some more problems. Yeah, that I could see that going very poorly. Because if you've postponed the original series, then it's for the same reason. The hurricane's not going anywhere. It's still passing through Atlanta, or at least the storm from the hurricane is still passing through Atlanta. And by the way, even if there is no storm, this is a really good Royals team.
And not to mention, this is a great Brewers team. It's not like you're just dropping everything to go play, the White Sox and the Angels.
That'd be nice. That'd be helpful. You know what? We still got to play games, but we're going to play a couple of laughers. That's okay. That's not happening here. They're playing actually good opponents, and that's going to be an issue when they then have to go play each other. Monday? You said
Monday, and then to that point,
and then turn around and do whatever playoff run they've got going on.
So Brewers, obviously they've secured playoff position. Kansas City right now is in second place for the wild card, pretty much tied with the Tigers. And then there's a whole dynamic where, they are kind of competing still with the Twins. The Twins are 2.5 games back of the Tigers and the Royals for the American League wild card. So, there's still a fight to be had there. The Royals certainly have all the motivation to do as well as they can. These are not easy games. And then now you might be in a position to have to leverage your bullpen and your starting pitching in a way where you were probably hoping to preserve that for this doubleheader, but that can now get disrupted.
So, you could end up blowing up your entire postseason strategy in any of these series, either the doubleheader or the series you've got going on right now. This could not be worse for both of these teams.
So, a little bit of luck here, honestly, for the D-backs between winning yesterday. Now you've get, the weather coming in, disrupting things for the Mets and the Braves. They've got to go put their, series on hold and take care of some other difficult games before they can come back and revisit that. But now you look at the D-backs, they've got today off, very nice, well-earned day of rest. But then they're about to kick off a 3-game series against arguably the hottest team in all of Major League Baseball. When the San Diego Padres come to town for the final 3-game series of the regular season. But they're in a pivotal game themselves tonight on the road at Dodger Stadium, taking on the Dodgers. As of right now, the Padres, I believe they're only 2 games back on the Dodgers for the National League West. And there is still a possibility that they can overtake the Dodgers and actually knock them down into the wild card standings. And actually, I just pulled up the standings. The Padres are 3 games behind the Dodgers, but still within striking distance there. if they end up winning that game tonight and then closing that gap down to 2 games, now they're in a situation where, they're taking on the D-backs. And if they potentially win out, there could be some movement there that a lot of people, before the season started, definitely did not anticipate.
I certainly didn't. That's going to be an interesting way to end the season. And it just always seems like the Diamondbacks are in spots like these where they have played well throughout the year, but for whatever reason, they no longer control their destiny and they need somebody to help them get into the postseason. And oh, look, we're back. We're doing that again.
Well, and what doesn't help the Padres is just that the Dodgers' final 3 games of the year are in Colorado, and you're going to take Shohei Ohtani into Coors Field. And, all it's going to take to make sure you clinch the NL West is just to, beat the worst team that's in the NL West in the most hitter-friendly ballpark, in all of baseball. So,
yeah, and certainly in the division as well. So that's a very interesting spot. The way this season is concluding is very thrilling. It's actually insanely exciting. So, we're going to continue to bring this to you every day and see where the Diamondbacks wind up. Before we head to a break, I want to get to the text line really quickly because CK had a text. He said, "Good afternoon, fellas. I'm hoping the Android updated version comes out soon. As of now, it's not particularly user-friendly on Android." He's talking about the Sport Trade app. I just got the app actually on the App Store myself because I also am an Android user, and I'm looking forward to that as well because it's a very new company. It's a very new app. And I don't believe they had the Android app before.
There was a little bit of uncertainty about the availability of it, and they did get some things sorted out, really last minute before that soft launch the other day. And actually, CK, Keon and I were both looking at, how that appeared on the Google Play Store. Keon has an Android. I have an iPhone. So it's not something I can speak to through personal experience. But that's definitely a great comment to hold on to. We will have Alex Kane back on the show tomorrow. And anyone that has a question about Sport Trade, a comment, anything that you would like to pass along to Alex, please text that into us. We're going to hold on to all of that commentary. And when Alex comes on the show tomorrow, we're going to actually ask him your questions. So again, that's another reason to download Sport Trade, start working with it today. If you have questions, well, number one, you're going to get a text message as soon as you sign up. So that's an immediate, space to be able to, ask them anything. And, you're going to get a quick response. You're going to talk to a real person and they're going to make sure that, they address whatever your concerns are. But if you prefer to hear it directly from the CEO, then just tune in tomorrow, text us your question. We're going to ask Alex live here on the air. And
within reason, if you're rude or being a jackass, that's not happening.
Yeah, no, this is not
just putting that out there because there are some folks that are will use that as their opportunity to show their true colors.
Well, and I know a certain favorite troll of the fourth dimension. I can think of
shows up and complains every day. we may not, if you're just going to show up and complain, that may not happen. But CK, that we can certainly ask that question of Alex Kane and many other things. So now we've got a lot of Thursday night football to get to, and quite frankly, not nearly enough time. There's like 40 minutes of show left. I wish there was like 40 minutes and another hour of show left. There's so much football to talk about. Thursday night football, it's coming up tonight here on 1580 The Fanatic, right after the Daily Blender at 4:30 p.m. And we're going to break that down for you and give some of our favorite player props and things to look at for the rest of the game. This is Beat the Book on 1580 The Fanatic.
1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic.
Live and local.
Kevin Harlan here from Monday Night Football on Westwood One. Hall of Fame quarterback Kurt Warner and I are set to bring you the action between the Falcons and the Eagles from Philadelphia. Philly with Saquon Barkley, the running back, now sparking the offense. They return home after a big win in Brazil over Green Bay. Now they host Atlanta, looking for their first win with quarterback Kirk Cousins. Join us on Monday Night Football.
Right here on 1580, The Fanatic.
Vanguard is 100% client-owned, serving over 50 million investors every day. Whether you're planning for retirement, putting your kids through college, or saving up for your next adventure, Vanguard can help you set personalized investment goals. All investing is subject to risk. Vanguard is owned by its funds, which are owned by Vanguard's fund shareholder clients. Copyright 2024, the Vanguard Group, Inc., all rights reserved, Vanguard Marketing Corporation Distributor.
This is the story of the one. As a warehouse manager, her job is to transform chaos into clarity and to see patterns where others see problems. Luckily, she's got a partner who shares her perspective. Grainger offers over 1 million industrial-grade products, backed by real person support and in-depth online resources, so she can tackle every task with precision and turn potential setbacks into streamlined success. Call clickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
After 3 years of legalized sports betting, something completely new is now live in Arizona. Dylan Cohen from Beat the Book here, and I'd like to introduce you to SportTrade. SportTrade is the first sports betting app that gives you the option to see the odds expressed as probabilities, and it's going to change in-game betting forever. If it's easier to understand 52% probability of winning versus minus 108 odds, SportTrade is your new home. With this percent odds feature, cashing out now makes much more sense. As the win probability changes, so does the value of your bet. Even if you're an experienced bettor and you prefer American odds, you'll love seeing odds closer to minus 106 versus the normal minus 110 offered just about everywhere else, coupled with near instant in-play betting. No more spinny wheels. Download SportTrade on your iPhone today to see the difference and beat the book. Use promo code 1580 to earn 10% cash back on every bet you place in your first week. Terms apply.
SportTrade is regulated by the Arizona Department of Gaming. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP.
In most countries of the world, Forte means door. United Forte Custom Doors, located in the Scottsdale Airport Design District, is now open with over 40,000 European doors, all in stock, ready for delivery, and at wholesale prices. Designers, contractors, builders, and yes, you. Come see our showroom on Greenway Hayden Loop. That's United Forte, Porte. Stop by to see and feel the quality at United Forte Custom Doors. Find us at uporte.com. That's uporte.com.
AZ Preps 365, your source for all the news, info, highlights, and more. Athlete news and interviews. Talk with coaches. Keep you up to date with the changes, moves, upcoming events, and more. AZ Preps 365, Arizona's ultimate prep sports show. If you miss a minute, you miss a lot. AZ Preps 365, Saturday mornings 8 till 10 on 1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic, and always on at 1580thefanatic.com.
Screen time's over.
Be home by 11?
Put your phone down while we're eating.
When parents set boundaries, keep track of where their kids go, and talk to them about the dangers of underage drinking and drugs, they keep their kids safe. Visit TalkNowAZ.com. Be the influence. Talk early. Talk often. Talk now.
Thanks. Thank you.
Muchas gracias.
This message is sponsored by the Substance Abuse Coalition Leaders of Arizona.
Let's say you've got questions. You're looking into solar, but you don't know where to start. Well, Harman Solar has the answers. Hi, I'm Jeffrey O'Brien, and listen, there's a couple of ways you can go here. One, visit harmansolar.com, browse around, because right across the page, they got links to all sorts of great information, like frequently asked questions, equipment, tax credits, even testimonials. Or just give them a call, 800-281-3189. Ask them directly. They'd love to hear from you. That's 800-281-3189. Or just go to harmansolar.com.
So, what's your favorite thing about sports? The excitement, the action, or the 5-meat pizza and the six-pack?
Bingo. That's what we thought.
1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic, and always on at 1580thefanatic.com.
Money your way.
So there's going to be some live betting opportunities for you tonight because we've got a lot of player props that you can work through and alter the way that you want to. Because there's Thursday Night Football on. That's on tonight. That's right here on 1580 The Fanatic, right after the Daily Blender, right after this show. And boy, Giants, Cowboys, divisional matchup and a potentially very, very weird game.
But like it's got its kind of nuances to where, you know, I mean, Keon and I were talking about this game at length, you know, from this morning all the way until we started, and just, you know, kind of sharing what things we liked about it. You know, let's run this by AI. Let's see what it thinks. And, there's a lot of good insights, especially from Keon, just kind of pointing out certain things that, we can kind of look at those and then we can look at the betting market. And there's definitely some opportunities to, take advantage of some player props, the total over under, which team's going to win. So, I mean, with all that being said, check out the Beat the Book website. You'll see all of the other bets that have been posted on there and what plays that we like. We're going to, go through a lot of these one by one. And, even if there's other things that we like based on news that's come out throughout the day, we're going to shout out some of that stuff as well. But, right before we went on, Keon, you had mentioned to me the Giants, their 2 starting slot corners, they're not playing tonight.
They are out tonight. Which means that if you're CeeDee Lamb, oh, look, there's a nice spot in the middle of the field where there's not any starting level player defending you.
Well, and I mean, if you look at these picks, a very big theme of what we like about this game is the passing attack between Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. So in particular, CeeDee Lamb receiving yards, we do recommend taking his over on the line. The last time I looked at it, it was over under 80.5 yards. So definitely consider taking that over. I mean, if you go all the way down to the long shot parlay, we're taking him for 100 plus alternate receiving yards. He's, had a little bit of an underwhelming start to the season. He has not exceeded 100 yards yet in a single game, which is a bit odd for someone that's pretty largely been considered a, top 3, top 5 receiver in the NFL.
And a lot of that is Dak. Like Dak just hasn't been that great this year. He hasn't been as accurate as he's been in the past. He hasn't taken care of the football as well as he has in the past. Like that stuff is starting to impact CeeDee Lamb just a little bit. However, this Giants defense is an opportunity to get right. And it's not only bad when it's healthy, it's injured now. So there's an opportunity for CeeDee Lamb to really have a monster game.
Well, and you talk about getting right. Something that I did point out in my analysis that is on that Beat the Book website is just that, both of these teams are bringing kind of strangely different kinds of momentum into this game. So like you look at the Cowboys come into week 4 with a 1-2 record. They have had a winning record by this point in the season for like the last 3 years straight. So it's kind of unfamiliar territory to now be in this kind of, scramble urgency mode. Whoever ends up losing this game is going to be in last place in the NFC East by the end of week 4. No one wants to be in last place right now, particularly.
And not in that division.
Right, exactly. Not in that division where everyone's just constantly beating up on each other. So then you look at the other side of this, you've got the Giants who are coming off this like remarkable performance on the road against the Browns, who coming into the season were largely considered the, wide and far best defense in all of football, which after 3 weeks, I think we can say that's definitely not the case.
Right.
And they've got the momentum behind them. They've got a lot of positivity. Anytime you see Daniel Jones, just have a very commanding win, no interceptions. You've got what looks to be the front runner for offensive rookie of the year with Malik Neighbors. I mean, there's just a lot of good things going right now for the Giants. So it's kind of like this one team riding a very positive high that's driving them, and then another team that's riding a bit of a negative low that's also, pretty strong motivation to, bring your best to the field tonight. A short week for both of these teams playing on a Thursday. And typically these primetime games, they tend to be lower scoring. However, I do say that with a grain of salt.
And the Thursday games also tend to be lower scoring because of that quick turnaround. I just don't think anybody's 100%.
Right. And I mean, the primetime games, like Keon just said, I mean, definitely probably want to consider Thursday, instead of say Monday, where, we had 2 teams that just, completely crushed the over. And that was a little bit of a anomaly there. But going back to this matchup and other props that we like, definitely love CeeDee Lamb anytime touchdown. He's only got 1 touchdown this season. And he did have the whole, statement that he made after the last game that the Cowboys played against the Ravens. He did apologize for his body language, his performance. He's really taking a lot of, where the Cowboys are right now on his shoulders. And this would be kind of a difficult thing to research, I feel like, but Whenever a star player goes out of their way to like accept responsibility like this and make a plea that they're going to be better, I think they end up being better in that next game.
Yeah, they do. It just depends. I think that for CD, it really does depend a lot on what Dak is capable of doing, because they don't have a running game. So it's going to be a lot of vertical concepts. I think the Cowboys had 30% vertical concepts that they run over the course of any given game. That's a lot. That's more than anybody in the league, I think. That's going to be a big night for CeeDee Lamb, because the opportunities are going to be there. There are so many chances against a defense that's banged up, and the fact that the Cowboys already want to throw the ball downfield.
So to that point, with the Cowboys having a very underwhelming, rushing game right now, perhaps you maybe want to consider unders on, a guy like Rico Dowdle or Ezekiel Elliott, in their rushing yards. Those are things that weren't necessarily posted on the Beat the Book website, but I'm certainly looking to play those personally.
I almost don't. I mean, I'll look and see. I don't even know if they have unders available for Zeke Elliott. He's been so bad.
They definitely do.
Wow. Yeah, he's been so bad. It just seems like it's not even worth putting up there. But I do think that you take some unders on Dowdle, not because I think Dowdle's bad, but because I think the Cowboys' offensive line genuinely has a lot of holes in it. It's a weird team watching the Cowboys, because they are both bad at running the ball and they are bad at stopping the teams that play them from running directly at them.
Rico Dowdle's line right now on rushing yards, and I'm pulling this up on FanDuel, it's over under 38.5 yards.
Oh, see, that's already kind of low.
Well, then you got Zeke Elliott over under 24.5 rushing yards there. So
I could definitely see Zeke being even below that, because the Giants the Giants are pretty good at stopping the run, if nothing else. But I don't know. Those unders are already kind of low to start. That might be one, if you can get some alternate numbers somewhere. If you shop it around, you might find an under that you really like. 38.5 is a low for a starting running back. That's the main bell cow in an offense.
Now, as far as an alternate over underline goes, that is something that you can play on DraftKings. So if that's, kind of the way that you want to strategize betting that, you could go to DraftKings. You can look to do an alternate under on rushing yards for those guys. But going back to Rico Dowdle, through 3 games so far, first game, 26 rushing yards, second game, 30 rushing yards, third game, 32 rushing yards. So
that's the thing. It's like he hasn't hit that number, but it's close enough. One breakaway play that goes a little bit longer than you think, and then you just absolutely lose that one.
You get burned.
I'm just saying that 38 he's been bad, but 38 is still low.
Okay, well here's
I wouldn't confidently, smash that particular
thing. The other side of this is Zeke Elliott, 40 rushing yards first game at Cleveland, but then 16 yards at home versus the Saints, 6 yards versus the Ravens.
I feel better about that one. So Zeke Elliott, I feel much better about, just because he hasn't done anything. And the way that his career has gone, the further the season goes on, the less he does. Just I think because of wear and tear, and that his body, whatever knee injury he had in the past, he never fully recovered from that.
Well, and to that point, 10 carries in his first game, 6 carries in his second game, 3 carries in his third game.
Yeah, I mean, the coaching staff is starting to get an idea of what they have in Ezekiel Elliott, and that is not a whole lot. Let's jump to the Giants side of this, because the 5th letter says, I hit Daniel Jones over in passing, over 199.5, hoping they're playing from behind. I actually like that a lot. What do you think?
I like that, particularly just the concept of them playing from behind, because we also talked about a different Daniel Jones prop. We were looking at his passing attempts. And to me, I really like this. I mean, his over under on passing attempts is 31.5. So we do have it on the picks for today to take the over. In his last game against the Browns, he did hit the over on that. And that was actually in a game where the context was the Giants were winning the whole time.
Yeah, it's actually unusual. The Giants don't usually throw the ball a ton. They're a pretty balanced team, when they go out there. But I just think that this particular set of games lends itself to the Giants wanting to throw the ball.
So, I definitely agree with the concept of, Giants probably going to be playing from behind, therefore, leveraging the passing attack, particularly off all this hype right now behind Malik Neighbors, he's played.
And the chemistry that him and Daniel Jones are developing. They didn't really have a whole lot in that first game. That last game was Daniel Jones is starting to throw the ball to Malik Neighbors when Malik Neighbors is not open.
Now, one potential risk of this, because this was a point that you had made, kind of looking at the other side of the rushing dynamic. So when you take into account the Dallas Cowboys rushing defense versus the New York Giants,
the Giants may come back down to earth a little bit and run the ball more, because the Giants or the Cowboys rather, really bad at stopping the run. I'm just going to read one stat for you on how bad at stopping the run they are. They are dead last in yards allowed per carry at 5.4. They are allowing the most yards per attempt of any team in the NFL. And the advanced numbers don't love Dallas either. So there's no bailing them out. This is a bad run defense. And Devin Singletary could find himself having a day. So if you're hoping that the Giants throw more, there is a possibility that with the way that the Cowboys play defense, you might still run it at them even if you are behind.
So that's going to be something to take into account. We did post to take Devin Singletary. It was we put it up there as an alternate rushing yards 60 plus. But I know this was something we felt pretty strongly about. AI certainly validated it, liked that as a play, even in the long shot parlay for today. I mean, looking to try and push that line. You can look to take Singletary for as much as 80 yards. I mean, this could end up being his first 100-yard rushing game of the season.
It could, because if you look at what Alvin Kamara was able to do, he jump-started his entire season going up against the Cowboys defense. Baker's cocky hands with a really, really good point. Dallas has given up a ton of QB rushing yards, 39 for Watson, 87 for Lamar. Carr obviously doesn't count. Danny Dimes should be running to evade the rush, and he is a fast quarterback. Ready to be hurt by kneel downs again. Danny Dimes alternate 40 rushing yards for Baker's cocky hands.
So I know that was definitely a play that you had mentioned to me as well. We took a little bit more of a conservative approach. His line on rushing yards right now is 31.5. So, I mean,
I just took the 31.5.
And I mean, it wouldn't take much for him to get to 40. And I certainly agree, with, that insight.
Though with Baker's cocky hands, because if you recall, he had I forget what play it was, but he got screwed over on kneel downs because he initially had it, and then the kneel downs took him back. So I'm saying the 40, he could get to the 40, but if they're winning the game and he's got to kneel it out, I don't know, man. that would terrify the bleep out of me having anything to do with that.
I think within a football game, I can't think of like a worse way to like lose a bet.
Yeah, because you were right. But that's the problem with losing that way. You were actually correct.
So that's just a whole thing. And look, I mean, the sports leagues, they're all somewhat invested in all the major sports books. So anytime they can create a dynamic where that's just like absolutely not in your favor. Granted, it's kind of a specific scenario, but it is relatively common. You will see it, pretty much guaranteed at some point in just about any football game. That's something you have to be cautious of anytime you're going to play quarterback rushing yards. So it's always good to kind of point out, what the risks might be for any potential thing you're going to play. But even with that being said, definitely like Danny Dimes to, use his feet, use the jets and, have to escape a Cowboys, pass rush there. One other thing that we did kind of highlight before, we did post to take an alternate total under on the game. So the line right now, it's at 44.5. You can look to push that up a little bit to feel, just a little bit more conservative in your play. So we posted at taking it as an alternate line at 48.5 and playing the under. I just happened to look up kind of the history of the rivalry between these two teams, and 4 out of the last 5 matchups between the Cowboys and the Giants have all had 48 combined total points or less. So that's certainly a trend that seems to support that underplay. As Keon mentioned before, these Thursday night games have tended to be, low scoring spots. So that's a trend that you can definitely expect to, see continue to play out. But one other thing that we certainly need to talk about. I know we probably need to get to a break here pretty soon. So when we come back, we'll talk about who we actually think is going to win this game and why.
Why, and also the opportunities for live betting in this, because there's going to be, I think, a roller coaster ride of a game. That's Thursday Night Football tonight, by the way, everybody. Cowboys versus Giants right here on 1580 The Fanatic. You're listening to Beat the Book.
1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic.
Live and local.
Progressive presents 10 things on a contractor's to-do list that are harder than getting a commercial auto insurance quote. Bidding a new client, giving an accurate estimate, finding affordable materials, getting a client to pay you for work you already did, getting a client to pay you, period, securing permits and workers and tools, getting those workers and tools to work together, and finding the perfect pair of overalls. Pockets, baby. But the easiest thing on a small business owner's to-do list? Seeing if you can save on commercial auto insurance. Get a quote in as little as 7 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage subject to policy terms and conditions.
Hi, guys. Jeffrey O'Brien here. Have you ever gone to HarmonSolar.com? Well, you really need to, because everything you ever wanted to know about how solar power can save you big on your monthly electric bill is right there. It's online. Through your phone or through your computer, you can learn about tax credits, the equipment they use, look at how they do things for businesses as well as homeowners, see testimonials from happy customers, and I hear they got a pretty good podcast, too. Check it out. Go to HarmonSolar.com. That's HarmonSolar.com. It's fall football season, and Kasai Japanese Steakhouse is doubling down, now with 2 Valley locations. When it comes to Asian cuisine, no one does it better and more authentic than Kasai, where talented Teppanyaki chefs create the food, the fire, and the fun of teppanyaki. Kasai Japanese Steakhouse isn't just dinner, it's dinnertainment. A memorable dining experience where a delicious 7-course meal is prepared right at your table with flair. It's a perfect choice for celebrations, date nights, or a night on the town. Choose from over 30 different items and combinations of teppanyaki, Asian fusion, and innovative sushi. Happy hour is always on fire and offered daily with specials on their Asian-inspired comfort food like Korean steak tacos, Mongolian barbecue ribs, and signature Wagyu beef sliders. Always a memorable dinner, or catch the game in a bite at the bar at Kasai. Now with 2 locations, Scottsdale Road in Thunderbird, and in Peoria at the 101 in Northern. Go to KasaiTeppen.com. That's Kasai Teppen.com, or search Kasai on your mobile phone.
Lab-grown diamonds might be new to retail, but not to Desert Wholesale Diamond. Hi, Diamond Dave Cantor of Desert Wholesale Diamond. And even though I'm a 4th-generation natural diamond importer, I was the first to import these gorgeous, eco-friendly, low-carbon footprint, conflict-free, real and genuine diamonds to the West Coast. And unlike everyone who's recently gotten on the lab-grown bandwagon, we work with the largest growers in the world to bring you the best possible diamonds at the lowest possible price. We know what to import and what to reject. And because we're importing direct, working in our low overhead wholesale offices, and making our own rings, bracelets, and earrings in our own facility, we can offer better pricing than anyone. So work with the leader, not the followers, and let us find you the perfect cultivated diamond for less, a lot less.
Call 480-397-2450. That's 480-397-2450. Or follow Dave on Instagram at Diamond Dave Cantor. That's at Diamond Dave, Kantor.
1580 The Fanatic.
Rabbit hole never ends of Thursday Night Football. You can keep digging for stats, and you can keep finding stats forever. Dylan, you were just telling me about Trayvon Diggs.
Yeah, Trayvon Diggs was a guy that, at one point was very largely considered the best cornerback in the NFL. Just a huge, part of that Cowboys defense. And, was just kind of thinking about his play so far this year. And, we just kind of haven't seen him, really star the way that he has, in the, earlier games of the season and years past. So in this particular matchup, this is a divisional rival. It's a quarterback he's very familiar with, very experienced, trying to defend against. And through 7 career games against the Giants, he has 3 interceptions. And those weren't multiple in one game. It's 3 games out of 7. So it's a pretty good rate.
It's a pretty good rate because he's always been that. He is a high interception guy. The thing with Trayvon Diggs is, and you can just do with this what you want. It's a boom or bust play with him. He gets beaten a lot,
And the reason why he's considered a great corner is because he gives as good as he gets. So he's gonna give up a lot of yards, but there's a chance that any one of those passes could also be a pick six. So he's so aggressive that sometimes it works against him, but when it's working for him, it works really, really well. I do like his matchup versus Malik Neighbors a little bit, like that as just a fan of football. I think it's just going to be fun to watch. But I expect the Giants to also move Neighbors all over the place. I don't think it's just going to be Neighbors and Diggs going at it all game long. There's going to be some matchups with Diggs. I think that'll be one that, maybe you follow the game and over the course of the game, you see Daniel Jones throwing some risky passes. Maybe you make a Diggs interception play.
That, or I mean, even if you're not counting on the specific player to get the interception, one of the picks that I did post was for Daniel Jones to throw an interception.
Because that's a pretty reliable pick, to be honest.
I honestly look at it. Well, I look at it the same way that I look at like Corbin Carroll to score a run in any game. It just tends to be a pretty reliable outcome.
Like, does it happen every time? No. Does it happen a lot? Yeah, it does.
Very much. And, like in Diggs's case, he did get an interception in the first game of the year at the Browns, but he hasn't had one since. So he's hungry. He's looking for those opportunities, especially against a team like the Giants, against a quarterback that, he's got a lot of experience playing against. So definitely like the Daniel Jones to throw an interception. But as far as who's actually going to win this game goes, this is an interesting spot. Something that I was playing up to Keon in our conversations before the show was just that, Dallas really historically owns this matchup. And you go back all the way to 2017, and they are 13-1 in the regular season against the Giants. I mean, the Cowboys just own this matchup. Now, how much can you really take that into account? Keon, you had kind of warned me about this because this version of the Cowboys that they're bringing into this perhaps might be the worst version of the Cowboys that we've seen.
And yeah, I mean, at least in the Mike McCarthy era, they are a team that used to be very well balanced. And then this last offseason, they lost a lot of talent all over the place. From the defensive side of the ball, a good chunk of that talent stayed in the division. Dante Fowler follows Dan Quinn to Washington. Noah Igbenogany follows Dan Quinn to Washington. And then I think they lost a linebacker whose name I can't seem to recall right now. I think he went to Miami. Like there's just and that's not everybody that they lost. That's just the defensive side of the ball. They also lost players on the offensive side of the ball too, not the least of which center Tyler Biadasz, who, and I don't know if you follow the theme here, followed Dan Quinn to Washington. Like they just raided that entire Cowboys team, and the Cowboys didn't really replace those guys. So you look at the numbers all time for the Cowboys and Giants, or for the last handful of years, this is a little bit of a different Cowboys team, and quite frankly, it's a little worse.
So, taking a look at, where the line is right now in this game, it's been moving really kind of all over the place. This morning, it was 5.5 right before the show started. It was 5. I just pulled it back up right now, and it is back to 5.5, but it is favoring the Giants to cover plus 5.5. That's priced at minus 115 on FanDuel right now. The Cowboys to cover that spread, it's minus 105. So, the pick that was posted on Beat the Book, AI did support this play. It was for the Cowboys to cover that 5.5 point spread. With this passing attack that the Giants are about to go up against tonight, this is arguably going to be the best one that they'll have faced so far. And we all know what happened in week 1 against the Vikings. The Vikings were a very dominant team, leveraging the passing game with Sam Darnold to Justin Jefferson to Jordan Addison. And it was very effective. It didn't require a ton of passing yards from Darnold to secure like a very dominant win. I think that final score was 28-6. So, and then also take into account that was Darnold's very first game getting to play with those guys, being in a reserve role for numerous other teams for years, and then being in a spot where, due to JJ McCarthy getting injured, he's now been elevated into the starter role. So not something that he had necessarily prepared for the entire season. He was going to be competing with JJ throughout training camp to try and get that spot, but things shook out, last minute. He comes in, he starts, he has a great performance, and now we've seen him play through 3 games, and obviously they look like they've got something legit there. But my point is that now you've got Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, which is a proven product. And here they come into this game playing, kind of underwhelmingly through the first 3 games of the year. Maybe that's not necessarily all on them. But as a team, Dallas is in a spot where I'm sure from their eyes, I mean, they feel like their back is against the wall. They do not want to be that bottom team in the NFC East by the end of week 4. And I'm sure the Giants don't want to be either. But
I mean, technically, by the beginning of week 4, because by the time this game's over, they will be last.
That's true. That's true.
That's just there's no version of that they actually want. And I agree with you on that. I think that they, you got the CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott connection, but after that, you got Brandon Cooks. It's a pretty big fall off after that wide receiver wise too, because Jalen Tolbert is a starting receiver for the Dallas Cowboys, and he's all right. He's just okay. He's just fine.
This has been a season so far where we've seen unconventional names step up and deliver pretty big performances. Khalil Shakir was one that I was thinking of on the Bills the other day. Look at what Jordan Mason has done, on the 49ers. So
undrafted guy.
And right. And I mean, so it's not out of the realm of possibility for a guy like Tolbert to, come in and have a good game. But I just think,
but he's not a guy that's just filling in. That's a legitimate, he's been there the whole time and they haven't done much with him. So that just worth mentioning. By the way, quick question on the text line before we run out of time here. Fish Tank dropping in to say, sorry, I'm late, dudes. How do you like a $5 bet on the Cowboys defense to score?
I like it. Trayvon Diggs pick 6.
Yeah,
let's go.
There's a pick 6 in there somewhere because Daniel Jones is good for one or two a year. And it seems to always be
or
the
like
Cowboys when he does it.
Micah Parsons, strip, sack, fumble.
Yeah, there's any version of this that could work. By the way, the Cowboys, the Giants' offensive line, not great. So what's the pick here for you, Bill? 20 seconds.
20 seconds. Well, I mean, the pick is going to be Cowboys on that 5.5 point spread, but I would definitely encourage everyone to check out the long shot parlay for today. Counting on some big games from CeeDee Lamb, from Devin Singletary, and a home run from Aaron Judge. He's hit a homer in his past 4 games straight. So really like that play.
And that's going to be it for Beat the Book. Thanks for cramming as much information as you could there.
I'm Bridget Condon with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. Packers quarterback Jordan Love was back on the practice field as a limited participant Wednesday ahead of Green Bay's Week 4 matchup against